best they've combined to get the different spots on the field, and they had really good variation in attack with each other filling in their roles.
Well, we'll just clear the ground and get ready for a start in this one. Don't worry about what the betting says. It's an even money one, this. Ben Cummins, main referee, assist as Chris Butler. Let's have some fun at Wing Stadium. Two teams in form, head-to-head, Canberra and St George Illawarra. And Armour with the first run of the day, and it does take you back to the days of Canberra and Illawarra, both entering the competition back in 1982. As now Widdop takes them left side with Thompson outside the 20 on tackle number 2. Had 2 golden point games yesterday. I think this might be close as well. Cooper, nice and rugged. Just short of the 40-metre strike. And now Merrin gets his first touch in the set. He'll definitely be there for Origin. We know that. And now, just a couple of weeks after his test debut, Widdop, big line set up right-hand side. Marshall on to Dugan. Well, there's a bit of a spread early. First set from the Dragons. Last tackle. And the kick will come from Marshall back in field. Austin is there. But it's intercepted at the back by Whiten. And Canberra have the ball. Dragons negotiate the first set.
A good first set from the Dragons. I think they showed their hand right there and then, staying down the left-hand side of Blake Austin and working him over, and then prepared to shift out, knowing they'll get the defensive line short. So let's see if they stick with that.
And Paul Nuasala, that game in round 3. Dragons' first try didn't come until 4 minutes before half-time. Canberra led 18-0, could have been 24-0. As an offload back for Vaughan, it came from Fenson, underrated part of his game. Horn also offloads. Cornish was wrapped up there by Ray. This is Hodgson. So a couple of Englishmen out there, in fact 3 of them out there today. And a ball sends Whiten through. What a pass back inside. And Croker rolling and rolling. And roll on overboard. He's like a beer barrel.
Big tackle. No try. Check for a double movement here, folks.
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether his roll ever stopped. No try the call, but I think it'll matter not. The video referee will have conclusive proof either way to say try or no try.
Beautiful ball. What about the flick back inside from Whiten? Croker just loses his footing, still hasn't got a hand on him. Tyson Frizzell dives late.
There's no held there. There's no held there. No way.
No. You would have to give that a try.
Well, you know what,
it's a hand on the ball. It's not as if he's...
It's all movement. It's all movement towards the goal line. If it's anywhere else on the field, would you be saying, held, play the ball? We are watching...
yeah, true.
It'll be written on my tombstone. Watch double movement in normal speed. So give me a decision.
Yes. Well, on that speed, I would say no try. On the first angle and speed, I would say try.
Let's go down to Jimmy Smith on the sideline. You can have your 10 cents worth.
Yeah, great hole running too from Jack Whiten. Look, I think Gaz's first point is right. Tyson Frizzell has his hand on the football. That's not held player, so he's fully entitled to get up and go again, and that's exactly what he does. I go try.
Manly did it to the Dragons. How far back do you want to go? 96 Nathan Brown, Menzies. Here we go. Decision. It's a big one early. No try, double movement. For the record, let me say I am adamantly opposed. I'm adamant that is a fair try. Blake Austin denied a try in round 3 against the Dragons.
Let me explain to you.
Here we go.
He made the tackle. Ball's on the ground while he still got hold of you. It's held, mate. Double movement. Well, it's touch and go, mate, so just wait there. Just wait till I play the time on and the whistle.
Geez, they're in a tough predicament, the refs, trying to explain the video refs' decision, aren't they? But I'll tell you what about the set from the Canberra Raiders? So I spoke about how the Dragons really have to be on their toes about weathering the storm of these big guys rolling upfield really easily, and they went 70 metres before the line break.
Croker if he hadn't got the try, and he's still got plenty of time to do it, he will move to equal 5th on the all-time list at Canberra, which would be level with the great Mal Meninga. As here is Thompson. It's bright and breezy, the start for both teams. Dragons on halfway. So no penalty against Thompson there. This is Widdop switching there for Dugan. Away from Austin. 41 metres away from the line. Dragons in a position where there may be quite a dangerous kick at the end of the set. Armour up to the 30. Best chance of the match for St George Illawarra. Marshall, big spread out of the right-hand side for Aitken.
Great defence.
Got it by Nightingale on his outside. So now it is the last, and the kick will come from Marshall again. Beautiful! Widdop has gathered it in like you wouldn't believe. He can go me with a scalpel. He can be a surgeon with hands like that. What a try to Gareth Widdop.
Beautiful kick from Benji Marshall. And Gareth Widdop, well, he just plucked it out of the hands, I think, of Jack Whiten. He almost ended up in row 2, but I tell you what, he got the ball down. And that's a great counter-attack, considering they were back on their line, staring down the possibility of being 6-0 down. Look at that. It was actually out of the hands of Blake Austin. We spoke about that combination, Vossi, and how important it is. And it doesn't just resort to passing, it's kicking as well.
That is skill done at speed, and he gets it down. Look, for a moment there, he's almost, as you say, to row 2, as he gathers it in and down before the dead ball line. One of those Englishmen comes up with a first try. Good start, both teams.
It's a great start, and it's really hard to take you for the Canberra Raiders. Jared Croker, you saw him there trying to have a discussion about the decision being overturned, and then to concede 80, 90 metres and concede a try. That's tough to take, so it's going to be a really big set defensively to see how the Raiders respond.
And Widdop has the shot to convert his own try, only his 2nd of the year. One man of the match when the Dragons beat Canberra in Canberra last season. 6 still it is. Jimmy Smith on the sideline.
Rudolph Narayev, wasn't it? Gareth Widdop there getting that ball down. Real twinkle toe stuff. But that man was the key to it. They did roll down the field very easily, just as the Canberra Raiders had done when they had the football. But the pinpoint accurate kick, getting it in behind the line and getting the bounce that favoured Widdop as well. Superb bit of work, Benji Marshall.
Let's check the record. I'm not sure who Narayev played with, but we'll have a look that up later. Croker on the restart for Canberra and fielded by Dugan, and we're ready to rock and roll again with Leeson Armour. Great start. 5 minutes, Sunday football on Fox Sports. Vaughan's been hurt in that tackle. But a 6-0 scoreline. Look at how they try a piece here. It's been billed as best attack against best defence. Certainly that's how tries scored and conceded stack up. Here's Cooper. Rain, a switch for Widdop, and a back in field arrested there by Soliola midfield. Quick end of the run for Gareth, and now Marshall, and they come back in for Frizzell. So 3 Englishmen and a Welsh international in Frizzell on show here. There's now left side for Widdop to kick, and this will be covered up by Whiten, and Chasers all there.
Great set by the Dragons. Once again, they've gone 65 metres. It's unlike the Canberra Raiders to concede that much. And once again, you can see him targeting Blake Austin down this left-hand side. It is the worst side defensively in the competition, the Raiders' right edge, and then they're prepared to shift out. They've identified, Paul McGregor's obviously identified the real short press line from the Canberra Raiders, and they fancy their chances of going around them.
And now Cornish, as they set up to attack Austin, they'll try and fire a shot down their left. 4 of the last 6 games between the sides have been decided by less than a converted try. Penalty late in the count. Advantage Canberra.
Well, I know we think this is going to be a low-scoring game, but I'll tell you what, the way both teams are going and how easy they're rolling upfield, it looks like there might be a lot of points scored today.
Mark's image, over there. Yeah.
So 7 minutes gone, or close enough to.
Thanks,
and
Jeff.
the Raiders to start a set 35 metres out from the Dragons line.
Go.
Let's see how the red and white wall handles this. Soliola takes the first one. Played every game, as Jimmy pointed out in the preview, major minutes. Now Vaughan with it. Locked front on there. Cooper over the top. Arm out. Also Mirren. Quick scoop up for Cornish. Little short side shot. Croker back there for Whiten. There's a bit of game in this Canberra attack. Right from the opening minute. Now to centre field for Frank Paul to have a crack. And the chunky one is held right under the crossbar from dummy half. Hodgson scored the first try in that round 3 game.
Josh Hodgson
Doesn't get one there.
held up, boys. That's fine. Just releasing now. That's fine.
So they'll get one more.
Geez, they were short out the Canberra's right when the Dragons left.
Now close to the action wherever they sit here at Wynn Stadium.
Don't go early, Dragons.
So last play, identify Cornish left side. In fact, all the playmakers are there. Cornish is with it. He'll kick to the wing of Nightingale. Here comes Big Edric Lee, and Nightingale says, not on my watch. Comes down with the ball. Well, there's never going to be a winger taller than Edric Lee in the competition. He's always going to have the height advantage.
Great work you see in the replay box here. Benji Marshall just get in front of Edric Lee. Just see where he had to change his direction there. That gives Jason Nightingale that extra second.
Well, he's on a nice run of tries too. Has 3 from his last couple of games. Long range intercept last week against the Titans. Now Armour centre field. It's the players in this game that fit into that underrated category. Leeson Armour's another one you could put on a lengthy list out of the two sides today.
I think they're both underrated teams.
And now Rain for Marshall. And kicks for position. He's got Whiten going across. It's not going to go dead. Whiten looks up, sees Widdop coming in. He's lost it. It may have been stripped. Battalia's come up with it. Then for Rain. Keeps alive for Cooper. Cooper centre field for Dugan. Dugan 15 metres out. One more so the Dragons fans. And somehow Soliola comes up with a tackle. Will be penalised. Bordering on Sinby.
Great work, Peter Battaglia. He didn't panic. The ball was going towards the sideline. Could have been tempted to take that little channel down the short-hand side and go for the miracle play and score off the first play, which ultimately probably would have resulted in going to video ref.
Just on that 10-metre, mate.
Jack White. That was an ugly mate. Look, I'm still not sure how the ball came out with 3 in attendance. He's not trying to pass. Controversial strip or drop ball yesterday. Parramatta versus the Warriors with Tim Manor. Referee's got that one right, I believe. But what do you make of this one?
Yeah, look, see, the thing is, it's ironic, isn't it? If Battaglia scores there, we go to video ref. It's probably almost deemed a rate and a penalty to Canberra. Now, the Dragons are going to be attacking the line. That's why I say sometimes it's better not to score off that play.
Take that on board. You've got a penalty here. Yeah, but you still respond to the ball.
And that's where it finished. Soliola, the big tackle. You know, you can present a case for sin binning. They decided to go for goal here with Widdop, which is interesting on the angle. But well, just on that one, I mean, Dugan was sin bin back in round 3 for a bit of interference. You know, Dragons are on a red hot roll there. Soliola concedes a deliberate penalty.
It's tough, isn't it? Unless it's an absolute clean break and blatant. They generally stay away from it, don't they?
So going for goal and an 8-0 lead. 22 metres out from goal and 10 in from touch. Here he goes from Halifax and he sprays it off to the right, but dead. And we don't have too many of these days. A 20-metre dropout.
So yeah, one shot quicker, no second efforts in those runs.
Jimmy Smith down on the sideline.
Well, I think the decision to go for 2 points is very interesting. Either that's respect for the Canberra Raiders' defence or lack of confidence in their own attack. I thought that was the interesting decision there.
Cooper is the man coming back. So the homes of these players, Cooper joined from Warrington, Widdop, when he first came to Australia from Halifax. Dragons penalty, Hodgson. Last club hold KR. And having said advantage Canberra earlier, now advantage Dragons.
On the line, Gareth. You got to release quicker there.
And Widdop with a touch finder. So this set will start inside the 40.
Hold here, see ya. Wait there.
3-1 penalty count in the first 11.5 minutes to the Dragons. Frizzell, their man on the right-hand side. People thinking he's ready for Origin. As centrefield they come for Marshall, and along it comes, and Dugan and Widdop, and then from Italia, the one-handed pass out the back, and Napoli puts it there.
Beautiful play. Once again, that's the second time they've got the Canberra Raiders defenders interested in that decoy runner, which created the 3-on-2. Unfortunately, Napoli, if he tucks that in the left mitten, he's a big chance down that touchline, isn't he? Really nice work to straighten there. Italia with a lovely little flick, but Napoli just couldn't take it.
Yeah, well, Mataudia's had some big touches early in this game, 6th game for the year.
I thought last week, Rossi, I thought he was outstanding against Dylan Walker, one of the best young centres, if not the best young centre in the game. I thought he more than held his own.
And rewarded, even though he's got the 2 on his back. One of the centres. Canberra with the mandatory scrum win. And now Hodgson will get them started for Vaughan. Always big numbers, Paul Vaughan. Started the season coming off the bench, and then is now a starting member as Lee gets involved. Armau and Frizzell there. Raiders up to halfway and over. But that is tackle number 4. A little bit more straightforward this set. Hodgson with a nice little raid going that short side. Puts them inside the 30. I think the kick's going to come out towards the wing of Napoli. No, they go more centre field. Napoli and Dugan are going to come close here. Well, Napoli, Dugan felt it. He said, I'm on your side, Eto.
It was almost the perfect kick that was in the eye line of the sun for Josh Dugan. It was in between Napoli and Dugan just to create that indecision. But he done well in the end, Napoli.
Well, running into Edo Napoli is like running into a pylon on the Harbour Bridge.
He thought he hit the goalpost. Poor dudes.
Dragons have the ball outside their 20. I mean, you could see that happening. It was going to happen. And it's always going to be the smaller man who come the worse off. Now Rain and Widdop, and Marshall is going to kick from inside the 40 on the run. There's plenty on this. Whiten just, it's just dawdling back there. It's a big 40-20. I'm not sure what Jack Whiten was doing. He was, and I don't resolve from that, he was dawdling. The ball was allowed to bounce. It's a Dragons restart from a 40-20. Am I being too hard?
No, you're not. I think he got confused that when Benji Marshall ran off, he thought he'd gone over the 40. He obviously couldn't see the Dragons on the attack now.
So now Marshall with it, and it comes for Dugan. He runs into Croker. Gets away from him. Soliola there with Hodgson.
It's one of their pet plays, that right-hand side, out to isolate Josh Dugan, pretending to tackle at the right-hand centre.
Marshall back in field. There's an arm out with the ball. 3 in there for Canberra. This is quite a test to their defence. This is quite a contrast to the round 3 game. The improvement in the Dragons is colossal. Run around Widdop and Benji Marshall, and it comes for Nightingale. Don't worry about best defence in the league. What about the attack? It is red hot, red and white hot.
Well, they were so close last week. We saw Gareth Widdop get put in a similar situation and come up with the wrong pass twice, but on this occasion he's obviously learned his lesson. This is where it all started. Benji Marshall, beautiful kick, and as you said, Bossy, rightly so, look at Jack Whiten, just dawdling, obviously no urgency there, obviously because he didn't realise. And then they get the ball, great play on the right with Josh Dugan trying to get him one-on-one in the centres, but this beautiful little set piece. Frizzell runs the decoy, Widdop out the back, Benji Marshall nice and straight, and on this occasion Widdop chooses the right man in Nightingale.
Look at that play unfold. How long was the runaround? I reckon the runaround was used in the first minute at Birchgrove Oval in 1908 on April 20. It's still one of the best plays, isn't it?
It only made a comeback about 5 or 6 years ago. It all started from the dummy half. They used to have the runaround from dummy half to get the certain players on the field, particularly the back rowers, and then create their extra numbers out the back. Now it's everywhere.
Yeah, love it. Love it. And Nightingale scores it. 4 tries his last 3 games against Canberra from the Fox Sports Lab. And Widdop has his 3rd kick of the day. The attack has been good. From the very first set today, on tackle 4, they've gone a shift out to the right-hand side. They've laid their intentions clear. And there's no let-up in any set. They've asked questions of the Canberra defence. So not a good strike on his last one. And now, again, he's a little right, but he's bringing it back in. It is there. 12-0 scoreline. Jimmy, did you see this coming?
Not really, Andrew, but it's enjoyable. Well done, Jason Nightingale. But as Gaz said, started with the Benji Marshall kick. And in fairness to Jack Whiten, I don't think even if he was on his bike, he would have stopped that football. They get that 20-metre start. And then they got Dugan around on the centre, and then they got him around 2 plays later, and it was the classic 3-on-2 that Gareth Widdop has done 1,000 times at training, and he absolutely nailed it.
Well, don't be alarmed, Canberra fans. As you know, just a few weeks ago, came from behind against South Sydney. A few weeks further back against the Tigers, their biggest comeback in their history. You know, they know. 12-0, no problem. Let's just stay in the battle.
Not at all. There's a lot of belief in this side, and I think that's been the biggest difference between last year and this year, is a belief in what they can do and one another's strengths too.
So Dragons with the ball over their 40. Cooper. What if England was picking the test side right now? He'd be close to the first front rower. Would be a fair front row, wouldn't it? George Burgess and Cooper there. There's now Frizzell England back in field. Just outside the 40, James Graham. There's a few to pick from for England. With a mighty kick. Whiten wants to make up for it, does well. Jack Whiten.
Just a little bit of variation there to the Dragons coming out of their own end. In the past, they've come down this left channel, isolated Austin and tried to shift out to a short defensive line. On this occasion, they've stuck around the middle of the ruck. I wonder for the last 20 minutes of this first half, based on fatigue of the Canberra forwards, they'll try to go through the middle and behind the ruck.
And this is Soliola. Ooh, looked inside, couldn't find Croker. Canberra almost back to halfway. They'll get there now with Fensom. And Cooper's there, and Rain and Frizzell. Last tackle for Canberra. Bit of a recovery set for them. Now Cornish, along for Austin. He'll kick between the Booley and Dugan. And Dugan wasn't about to let it bounce a second time. Now links up with Big Eto. Look at the size of him. And look at the size of Shannon Boyd, who's now out there for the Raiders as well. And Nightingale comes back in field and he finds Shannon Boyd.
This is where they've got to up the ante a little bit, the Canberra Raiders. A lot of their victories in the past, when they did come from behind, Rossi, was based on the back of their defence. They had really good line speed and frustrated the opposition. I think at the moment they're conceding far too many metres.
In our 5 of the best segment leading up to kick-off, one of those games we highlighted, 2011, the clash in round 20 that year. Dragons led 18-6 at half-time, and that's the game that Josh Dugan scored for the Raiders, the last play of the match to win. As a big kick downfield by Widdop. Edric Lee has to run it. What about the weight on the kicks today of the Dragons? Exceptional. They're just doing everything right here, St George Illawarra.
Yeah, absolutely. They're 10 from 11 completions. They've 63% of the ball. It shows you how much defence the Canberra Raiders have had to do.
Not against any opposition here on this sort of form. And Croker almost back to halfway. Lee will roll them forward. Rapana's come in from the right wing to take that run.
Holding out, wait, go.
This is Hodgson. Boyd. A couple of barnstorming cries recently against the Tigers and against the Rabbits. Then for Cornish. Soliola. They fancy their chances here. Soliola doesn't pass. He's into Dugan. And then he still tries to offload, and now it's on the ground. And they've got knock-on against St George Illawarra.
Nothing silly.
Hello, lads. Nothing silly.
Got a knock on here. Did you got anything?
Josh has got a bit to say.
Knock on. Thanks, mate.
There is the knockdown by Dugan. I don't think you can dispute that.
Okay, let's behind.
And then it's just it turns into a ruck.
Come on, boys. Let's go.
Trying to get the ball.
Boys, over here, come on. Yeah, thanks, mate. Come on, boys, going away.
Chance then for Canberra. Size this up, you can see. Scrum on the 10-metre line. They are moving all their players to the open side. Haven't seen much of Sisawanga yet. Maybe it'll come out his way.
Head in arms bound, keep that way down.
Here we go. Austin with the ball for Canberra. And watch out for his left and right step, as we know. He's in great try-scoring form. And now Thompson. See, you can't just stand there and look and wait after release. Thompson just went back to previous seasons now. Quick tap. Fenson with it. Right underneath the red dot gear on the crossbar at wing. Hodgson, left side, wide ball. Corners go short. Soliola in. Straight past the defence. That just could not stop a man who's been in great form so far today. The missed tackle, I'm pretty sure, was Ewan Aitken. Canberra had their first try.
It was a beautiful play from the Canberra Raiders. This has worked 3 times already today. Soliola, Croker, all going through on the occasion of this right-hand edge. And, yep, Benji Marshall just wanted to slide out. Isolated Ewan Aitken one-on-one, and Soliola, he's too big, too strong in that situation. It was a good variation too. We saw the Dragons really lined up on Blake Austin, assuming he was going to get the 2-pass shift. On this occasion, they go down Mitch Cornish. And a nice little play just to straighten before the line. Nice soft pass into Soliola, because when you catch them under pressure, you can't pass them too hard.
Well, it's a try for Soliola, but he's given them wonderful service so far this year. He's averaging 13 hit-ups, 29 tackles a game. 5 years he had with St Helens in the Super League. Today's game 102 in the NRL. Jared Croker, a little chat there with Ben Cummins.
I think Canberra Raiders fans, I should say, should be confident in that if the Raiders are to go back and get 50-50% possession, Dragons have had all the ball. 12, 16, 18, 20 points, anything's possible with this Canberra Raiders team. So they need to get back into the grind, do things well, complete sets, get their line speed back in defence, and they'll really frustrate the Dragons.
978 career points coming into today for game 150. Hazem Masri reckons he will break all records. Croker, his first shot of the day. There's another 2 to one of the best in the league. Jimmy Smith, he gave a wrap pre-match to Soliola, and he lives up to your levels of anticipation.
Yeah, no need to take the wrap off him. He's done it a couple of times, as Gaz mentioned, just hitting a hole on the edge. And that's the thing that surprised me as much as anything. Yes, they've had a lot of football, the Dragons, but when they haven't had it, the best defence in the league has been a little bit hesitant. They've been waiting, especially on that right-hand side. And the Raiders have been able to roll downfield very easily when they're working towards their left, something Paul McGregor will address at half-time.
Widdop on the restart, 12-6. Well, the game is living up to expectations, not just individuals. These two sides have brought their A games, and it's playing out right here on this Sunday afternoon with Croker now. And fans of both sides enjoying this one, as I'm sure our viewers are as well. This is Vaughan up and over the 30-metre line. Cornish and Austin, he goes short. Right in line, he delivered off for Papali. Only the second hit up we've got for Josh Papali so far today. Canberra inside the Dragons half. Hodgson to Austin on a kick for placement. And Dugan goes across. The waiting's good. The green water's coming through. And Dugan is hammered over the top by Josh Papali. That has to sting just moderately. Now Nabuli off the Dragons line. Good surge here from Canberra.
That's better. You see the line speed there? Let's see if they can do it 3 plays in a row. It's great line speed. Get 30 in front. Already they've restricted them. They've only just gone 12 metres. It's a great set from the Canberra Raiders too. Nice variation to shift out. They're prepared to run the Dragons forwards around and try to fire them.
Jack DeBellin onto the field and takes that run. But that is tackle 4. Only just outside the 20. Cray's also out there for the Dragons. This is Merrin. Great defensive set from Canberra. They trail by 6, but they've got the edge right at the moment. Marshall gets a kick on the fall to Whiten. Just plucks it out of the air. And back he comes for Canberra.
You can just see what the difference does with a bit of line speed and a bit of kick pressure, as you see it all. And done here by the Dragons. They're going to put themselves under pressure again, but by that line speed and then pressure on the kicker at the end, they catch the ball, they're starting their set on their own 40.
And just steadying things down for this touch finder from Mitch Cornish. Sam Williams okay, but Should run last week against the Titans, but they're telling us he's all right. And back ready to train. Raiders to play the Bulldogs next Sunday down in Canberra. Dragons will have the bye and then run into their friends that they sandwich between the merger clubs, the Sharks, in round 12. Canberra 35 metres away from the Dragons line. And back to centre field. On for Papali. What a tackle there from Witter. And then play on the call. How's that? Well, hang on a second. I'm going to say, how was Croker's? I know he tried. And you're telling me that that's play on.
And fans at home think exactly the same thing.
In the words of Pauline Hanson, please explain. Canberra with the ball 20 metres out from the line. Fenson to play it. 6 points the margin. 13 away from half-time. There's Shillington, Cornish. And this Canberra side, they weren't perturbed at 12-0. Their confidence remains high. Now they get a penalty.
Easy, boys, easy, easy.
And Hodgson decides he wants to do a little pushing and a little bit of shoving.
Why is coming out there? Unnecessary. No, it's not. Legs, one of the legs. Damn.
What was that, Benji? You said a bum check there. I don't know what that is, but...
Josh, what are you doing, mate?
He's got a fair point there, Benji Marshall. Third man in, you're allowed to be above the knees.
So Canberra with the ball. Shillington broke his thumb playing New South Wales Cup back in round 2. So it's been a tough start to the year for a man they call Shillo. Now for Boyd. He's twisted back there in the tackle. It's all legal.
Look at the size of him.
Now with Cornish and Austin. Oh, the bowling! He's come up with the ball. The ground is moving as the bowling links up with Winnip. Winnip has got it. Now does a dance in front of Whiten. Exciting passage of play. I'm sure the earth was shuddering as the bowling took off. Now it's out here with it. There's going to be a Canberra try.
You just, Blake Austin in the background there saying to Sisawonga, look, you've got to get in that hole inside Eto Nabuli, not outside him.
Now Frizzell with the ball. The good attack of both teams continues here. This half is flying by. 11 to go until the break. With Craig in game number 252 today. And now there'll be a penalty. A bit of feeling in this now too. It's really living up to match of the day status this game.
It's been outstanding. It's had everything too. The last couple of defensive sets have been really good, really physical. Yet they're both prepared to throw the ball around, as they should, with conditions like this.
I've given you the tip. Can't talk us a stoppage here, okay?
So here it is. Fensom's the man in trouble, going at the legs.
See, that's not a penalty either for mine. Ben Cray one wasn't, and that one was.
The Dragons will go for goal again. Well, we had a scoreline there at one stage last night of 4-2 in Melbourne and South Sydney. Now Dragons are going for their second shot at goal.
It's the force, mate. Unnecessary force.
And here's the intercept. There's Blake Austin telling Sisawonga, get inside Nabuli. And there he goes. I thought he was home there for a while, Vossi. But Jack White, really quick. And look at that, Mitch Cornish to come from the other side of the field. Gareth Widdop does the right thing and just takes the tackle. But they've created some opportunities, Canberra. That'll be very pleasing for Ricky Steele to know they're putting a lot of din in the best defensive team in the competition.
Widdop lines up his kick from 30 metres out, down to Jimmy's sideline.
Well, the Bens are having a chat there. Ben Craig chatting with the referee, Ben Cummins, and he's gone back to the point that Gaz made earlier with the penalty against him. And same for this one. Why, oh why, with that penalties against these sides?
Interpretation on force with that man coming in. And here is Witter from 30 out. He likes it. He turns around straight away. It's like a golfer picking up his tee after a good drive. They don't have to look where it goes. And the Dragons skip vitally 8 points in front here. 9 minutes away from half-time. A terrific game of football unfolding right here. 7th time they've clashed in Wollongong. That record again, Canberra, 3 wins, Dragons 2 and 1 draw. What price is Golden Point today, now that we're in the mood after yesterday, Gaz?
Jeez, I'd say a $1.20.
You're not big on the betting, are you? What would you, $1.20?
I mean, this is the last
That's a very short price. As here is the Bellum. I don't think you're going to do work experience at the tab. Just stick with what you're doing, Gaz. I will never ask you another betting question if that's okay with you. Here is Merrim. And now outside their 30. Oh, way goes wrong. The door's open. Montrona's looked up at Brazil. Sucks down. Away he goes. What a pass to Illawarra. That is scintillating from the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Mitch Rain. He did it on two occasions last week. I thought he was close to the Dragons' best last week. And as I said, they were going to work over the middle and try to get him through the middle. And the tiring falls of the Canberra Raiders. And there he goes, straight through. Tyson Frizzell, great work to back up. He's done a lot this game and to be there. And what about the flick pass?
You know, watching Frizzell charge through, that brought back memories of Mal on that kangaroo tour, looming up in support. He was pushing blokes out of the way to get there.
Look at that. Bang.
Savour the pass.
And well done, UNA, for pushing up in support, as most good centres do. Comes round and improves the position. But the Dragons, well, who said points were going to be a problem?
Their attack. Their attack is the equivalent of some of the best attacks in the competition on what we're seeing here today.
Well, as I said, I thought last week, I thought they did a really good job in that first 40 minutes against South Sydney, who are no slouches when it comes to defence. An outstanding defensive team. And I thought they cracked them on many occasions. It was just the last pass. They chose the wrong option on the last pass.
But their attack's so good today. I'm thinking, what are you going for penalty goals? You know, like, you've had a couple of shots today. I know they got one to get 8 in front, but you back yourself in this sort of form. And it's an easy one for Widdop in front. 12-6 is going to become 20-6, just like that. 6.5 minutes to go. Jimmy Smith, well, I'm going to put you on the spot. Compare this Dragons attack with some of the best attack we've seen from any side this year. I mean, this is confidence plus.
Yeah, it's been spectacular, hasn't it? Mitch Rain, you know, we know about his tackling. 35 tackles in 52 minutes in that game against the Rabbitohs last week. But that's exactly what he did to the Raiders in round 3. Split them up the middle and scored a great individual try. And the interesting thing about it is we're at that point where Heath Lestrange almost comes onto the field, the 30-minute mark. So he pulled the right rein there. Paul McGregor left him on just long enough.
There's the Bellum, brings it back from the Fox Sports Lab. Running stats. First time Dragons have scored 20 points in the first half since round 20 last year against the Tigers. They are above their season average clearly in 34 minutes here against Canberra. A team coming off a 10-try victory last week. And they're not playing badly. They're not playing poorly, Canberra. They may have some defensive issues combating this Dragons attack.
We saw what they can do when they got a little bit of possession. As I said, they need to get back into the grind of things and get an even amount of possession, and then they'll get opportunity.
And there's a spring of the step. Marshall Widdop is having a command performance here. White was across. Oh, the bounce almost got away from him. And now the drive. And just in advance of the goal line.
I think that's one thing they've done really well today, Marshall and Widdop. They've exposed Jack White as positional play. He's not getting much help from his wingers as we see him getting driven backwards here, the Raiders. But they've got to improve that, the back three of the Raiders.
This is hungry. This is George Illawarra defence.
Wait there, wait there. Oh, boys. Tackle 2. Oh, go. Same 2.
They are mauling them here. An offload, and Soliola gets Croker away. Lee's not going to be in his outside because he's taken the run back infield. Could be penalised there, the Dragons. There was clearly the caller held and getting close to the sideline. This is a tough set for Canberra. It almost became tougher. Wanga now being driven. This is bordering on brutal, this set from the Dragons. They kick early. Cornish, and it's not long. Dugan fields it on the 40 and wants to run. The high ball. Look at, oh no! Rapata has run into Nabuli. He is hard to avoid, isn't he? Now Widdop. What's going on out there? This is mini league. This is under 7s.
Well, it was the right idea from Cornish. Unfortunately, just couldn't execute the kick. And then it was the right idea with Widdop too. He'd made the extra effort to get back. Saw they had 3-on-1 out here. Rapana, too good with his decision making.
Craig plays it on halfway, and Lane gets them going again. Now Jack de Bellin, and bun and all. Oh, Lane's had it knocked out of his hand. What was wrong with that? Anyway, what was wrong with that? He was fair at marker, wasn't he?
Friday night we saw two, it was play on. Anyway, a big set for Canberra Raiders defensively. 20-6 is one thing, but they don't want to get 26-6 before half time.
So if you're going to say he's not marker, so if Rain passes there, do you come back and penalise Dave Shillington for not being square at marker? Or you only penalise him if he plays it?
Well, I think we're allowed to play at the hand. They said you can't play it before, you can play at the hand.
Well, if you're on side, you can play at anything, can't you? Anyway. The Dragons have the ball 15 away from the line. And Rain, this is a big chance for Paul McGregor's team. De Bellin, they lead by 14. 3 tries in the first half.
On the left.
3 minutes away from the break. Gaz reckons they've got them. Let's see if the Burley can find his way through. He had to stop the catch. Back he comes in field. Still 9 from the line. Rain will have a little crack at them. Stood up Papali. Links up centre field. Merrin wanted to offload to Bellin. Ended up in goal, but without the ball. Now Rain. And caught there in a few minds. Last tackle for St George Illawarra. Is it patience? Is it big play? Oh, wow.
I'm not going to cop that. You're down and up. Jared.
Here we go. Let's have a meeting.
Mate, we've had too many in that ruck area. It needs to be cleaned up.
Going both ways, mate.
That was slow. He was slow and then he spins to the front. It needs to be sped up. No, my turn to talk. Okay, mate. I can. I'm here to listen.
There you go. Ben Cummins. Straight talking there. And Dragons have the ball. Not going for goal there for 22-6. It is all out for the try here, coming up to the break to the right-hand side. Marshall. Bullet might pass out to Nightingale. Canberra and Nightingale's offloaded. Aitken loses the ball. And now Lee's away. The big legs of Edric Lee. A fair target. And the Dragons able to stop that counter-attack. The offload from Nightingale, I wasn't expecting it.
No, neither was his partner in crime. But what about Shannon Boyd in the clear? He was quick to give it to Edric Lee.
Well, unexpected chance then for Canberra to attack coming up to the break. Off goes Kurt. Oh, Baptiste! Baptiste is eaten for entree, main course of dessert by Frizzell. And it went down quickly. Canberra with the ball 29 metres away from the St George Illawarra line. A most enjoyable first half. And it ain't over yet. Last tackle Canberra. 15 metres away from the line. 20-6 they trail. Cornish has got it. Dribbles to get through. Dugan has lost it. Crocker's offloaded. Shannon Boyd is he's lost the ball. Or did he force it? He wouldn't have known the tackle counter restarted, perhaps.
Hey, just keep him out.
But Shannon
Mike,
Boyd,
thank you.
well, every part of his body is about 2 metres long, and the arms have almost got there.
Okay, I've got tackle 0. Got a try.
Well, here we go.
Fine with the grind. Can you just check what happens there on the ground even afterwards, please?
Jeez, I thought they
we'll
did
check
amazingly well to even stop his momentum. Look at the size of Shannon Boyd.
He's buggered. I may use that expression. And he's got it down.
That is great effort, Shannon Boyd.
There's 4 defenders there. I know he weighs 320 kilos, but what about that? Look at the stretch.
And this is a huge play in the context of the game. To potentially go in 2012 after having no ball, defending your goal line for the majority of the game.
It's an easy one for the video referees, Chitty and Galea. And well done, Ben Cummins. He had a clear view. He set it up as try amidst the confusion. But you're right, Gaz. What a couple of minutes right there. And Canberra can bring it back to 8 the difference. If the Dragons score, it's out to 20.
Yep.
Or close enough too.
It was so close. Nightingale trying to offload to Aiken. obviously didn't come off, and then Boyd passes to Edric Lee. They make the break and they march upfield. They scored right before the break against the Tigers when they made that great comeback.
Yep. Well, I sit here as a neutral observer. I'm just loving the first 40 minutes. It has flashed by like that, and it's been set up from the opening attacking raids of both teams in the opening sets. There's been terrific highlights in the game, a little bit of controversy as well, but you won't want to miss this second half. Croker for 20-12, and to edge closer to that 1,000-point milestone. Croker is successful. What a gripping, compelling first half. Sunday football on Fox Sports. It is Dragons 20, Raiders 12.
To the point where I come into first grade, Vossi, he was a real mentor. Him and his wife Nicole really took me under their arms and under their wing, and really helped me, I guess, develop as a person as a first grader.
Wasn't in love with football, Paul McGregor. Didn't make his first grade debut with 23. The club had pursued him. He was just playing with his mates at Dapto, and they just needed to get him. They knew he was a talent.
Bobby Millwood tells some very funny stories on how many attempts it took to get Paul McGregor into Wollongong.
Okay, Tom, you're on here.
This is a big half coming up. Second half at Wynn Stadium in Wollongong on a beautiful autumn day. 20-12, the home side lead. And it is Shillington with a first run. Back he comes. No Jared Kennedy in that first half for Canberra. We saw none of Will Matthews or Heath Lestrange in that first half. Only the two bench players used for the Dragons by McGregor.
Probably a reflection of the possession too, Vossi.
Right on the sideline here. And the benches are only literally a metre away from the actual sideline where the interchange players sit. And now to centre field. And Fenson with the ball. Some of those Raiders defensive stats from the first half. Papali and Fenson, 18 tackles each. Papali, there's some quality in his work here as the first high ball of the second half, and Nightingale had it. Didn't even have to leave the turf. I wonder if Jason would like to pull back that offload now before half time. It's amazing what unfolded in the next 60 seconds after that. Now Widdopin away down that left. Joel Thompson's another player who's been mentioned in Origin circles. He's been a bit of a regular for the countryside, and he's been an 18th man before for New South Wales. So maybe if the teams aren't already picked, just one more big half might be the difference for him and others. Here's DeBellin, 40 away from the Canberra line. And last tackle for the Dragons. Widdop along to Marshall. He senses a chance to attack, and then Dugan elects to kick. Whiten nabs that one at his own goal line. Has to get the ground. Watch this. He's being carted. Held as the call. They're able to complete their work. Now they have to get out of that corner, and that's not easy.
Both coaches have obviously said at half-time they really wanted to improve their line speed, because defensively already the first two sets have been a lot better.
Look at this. This is hard work here. Leon tackle 3. Now Rapana over the 20. The only ball Rapana's got today seems to be where he's had to come in from the opposite wing. Last tackle, and pushed out. Oh, what a back penalty with tackle 5.
Geez, that's a silly penalty.
Shillington knocked off his feet. Paul McGregor's head goes down. I hope he saw vision of that. He'd be thinking, what are they doing there? What are they showing me for from 21 years ago, coming out of half-time?
They're just comparing their hairlines.
Canberra with the ball 39 metres away from the St George Illawarra line. Cornish, he's done a capable job today. Cornish, first game back in the top grade since round 4. This is Baptiste, Shillington, Cornish again, on to Soliola. An early test here, second half for the Dragons defence. They led 20-6 coming up to the break. Right now, 20-12. Baptista, dummy half again. He gives good service. Cottage goes short, yes! Canberra over. Game on, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Papali scores it. Not that they've ever been out of it, but haven't they stuck to their task, Canberra?
And they've been hitting the decoy runners. It's really worked against this Dragons defensive line. But it all started with the Tyson Frizzell penalty on the 5th play. That's a definite no-no from the coach's point of view. And then, look, they shift out Gareth Widdop. Just indecisive. He was his man. You had to commit there. We saw Matautia come up and take Whiten out the back. Therefore, he was Widdop's man. So I think Paul McGregor would be saying, you know, they are not decoy runners until the ball's gone past them.
3 straight games, Papali finds himself on the scorer's sheet. And we were critical of him early in the season. He wasn't hitting the line hard, and he is now. Ricky Stewart's worked on. He's giving him major minutes. He's making him play 80 in some cases, and he's getting work rate out of him. His defensive stats, and you know, I was surprised that he was picked in the squad for Australia. I know he didn't play, but now if Queensland back him up, well, I'm probably not surprised.
Yeah, and it was funny, I was probably a bit critical of Ricky using him in the front row, because I've always thought Papali's a back row, but now that I look at it in hindsight, I would say Ricky was giving him minutes in the front row to get him fit and agile for the back row, and now he's reaping the rewards.
Croker successful, 20-18. Sunday football on Fox Sports. Jimmy, buy into the chat of Josh Papali.
Yeah, I like him on an edge. He's so dangerous. You know, that's his 5th run. He's been hard to handle. He too, like Blake Austin, have been a function of how much football they've been able to get. But you know, 3 games for Queensland thus far. He walked out onto the field for the kickoff. He was smiling and laughing and clapping and really going to enjoy his work this afternoon. And that's exactly what he's done to start this second half as well. Everyone fit for both 17s, for the Dragons and the Raiders, for this second half as well.
You know, Papali, he's now played 8 tests for Australia already, Josh. And still a relative newcomer to Origin. Now, Croker, well, this is interesting. He's hurt, but he has released the ball before they'd blown time off. So this will be knock-on against Canberra. Little unfortunate for the Raiders captain. Down he goes. Ball is free.
Okay, let's go on here, Canberra.
And the Dragons to get a scrum feed. The ebb and flow of this game.
Always Paul McGregor. Wouldn't be happy to the finish of the first half nor the start of the second half. We spoke about Josh Papali and how much he's done, and now he just turned 23 last week, so big career ahead of him.
20-18, 6 tries already today as the Dragons get sharp left. Dugan onto Matautia, straightening up. Whiten comes in on the back of Wanga and Austin. Did I say Dragons defence test early? What about the Raiders right now? As it comes across to Craig. More pleas of this. And again, don't rule out Golden Point later today. DeBellin and Widdop, and Marshall passes quickly. On the bounce it goes for Nightingale. Canberra regroup. They've had to do a bit of scrambling today, the Raiders. Marshall, centre field it comes with Big Cooper. King on that 10-metre strike. Rain takes them back to the right side. Widdop, Marshall, this time back to Widdop. There's that run around. To Aitken. Beautiful move. Last tackle, St George Illawarra. Marshall dabs a kick. He gets it back. It's played out by Shelton. Marshall running around in circles. Produces the step.
Well, they set up the same set play. He had to play long again with him.
A chance then for the St George Illawarra team. Now Gray. Canberra defend. Back-to-back sets. Not how they wanted the things to unfold after scoring the last try. Frizzell tries to barnstorm his way through. And now Aitken, Marshall got a low ball, handled it easily. Then for Cooper. Cooper's offloaded. Here we go again. Rain's got it. Got away from Baptiste. Rain is close. Right beside the upright. Marshall looks up, sizes up the defenders, passes, and it comes. Widdop goes to Rapana's win. Knocked back by the Burley. Thompson scores for St George Illawarra. Lock it in, Eddie. The Dragons have scored. a big afternoon of rugby league here.
Well, what about the kick from Gareth Whittam? Had to straighten off the left foot and then kicked it off the inside of his right foot to get it over to the left corner. There you see, beautiful little deft touch. Head under bully goes up, and Joel Thompson is Johnny on the spot. It just feels like no football is being played into the middle third, is there? It's like they're either attacking the Dragons goal line, the Raiders, or the... Oh, I've lost Vossi.
Well, look, when you've got a player the size and the burly, it's the same with Canberra, with Edric Lee, but it's a huge leap. And when his hands are up above his head, you are talking, what, 2.5 metres in the air where he's making contact with, and that's no exaggeration, maybe a fraction higher. So that's just a modern-day play of the kicking game, the back, and Thompson's in position to score, the former Raider. He's had a couple of Man of the Match awards in games between these two clubs, but that was more in his time when that hoodoo existed in Canberra against St George Illawarra.
Yeah, look, I think since Joel Thompson's arrived at the club, along with Tyson Frizzell, they have been the best two players in the team over the past 24 months. They're involved in everything. I think their game's really developed, which is a real compliment to Paul McGregor as well, particularly the lines they're running on the edges, but their work ethic. God, they get through a lot of work, and it's quality work more than anything.
That hoodoo was broken last year. 50 points were scored in the game. We're at 42 at the moment, and Whittam has got it in for another 2. Margin again is 8. Jimmy Smith sideline.
Yeah, Joel Thompson, anything Sia Soliola can do for Canberra, he can do for the Dragons. It's exactly the same on that left side. He's a really good hole runner. He has the capacity to be able to push wide into a centre position if required, so that utility value is there. And the other thing about him is too, picking up the scraps there from what was clearly a set play. Sisawonga came up quickly. The response from Whittam was the kick, and Thompson gets the try. Strap yourself in, Bossy.
Yes, indeed. The Women in League round here in the Telstra Premiership. And we should mention the Women in League pink socks by the Dragons and honouring the late Joanne Mackay and the Joanne Mackay Foundation. Joanne was the wife of Brad, great Dragon, great Steeler. So much work being done for breast cancer, and the nurses that were the guard of honour for the Dragons as they ran out today. Good man, good player too, Brad Mackay. State of origin, international. So to stick with the Western Reds. Now Frizzell, when the ball pushes forward, he's strong. Love to see a player in black boots. There's not too many of them these days, as now the Dragons put a bit of control in their play.
Great set after points. Rolled up field, stay down this right-hand channel. And Benji Marshall, we saw that a lot, that kick against Roger Tuivasa-Sheck on the Anzac Day. Just to keep him out of the play. Whiten does bring the ball back strongly, but just to give his forwards a breather, get back on track.
So again from the Fox Sports Lab. So the match in round 3 this year, the side leading at half-time was beaten. That was Canberra. And indeed in the hoodoo breaking game last year, the Raiders did lead 12-10 at half-time and then 16-10 and were run down.
I love how you call those guys in the lab the nerds in the bunkers, but geez, you must spend a lot of time in that lab.
I've got a little bunk bed, like one of those Japanese beds. They just put me in, the capsule.
Just after that's it, mate. That's good. Kurt, head in. Hold that weight, St George. Hold it. Okay,
but mate. No, you'd be a very brave man to ride off the Raiders at the moment.
So Canberra with the ball, but deep inside their own territory. Baptiste on to Rapana. Not that I wish ill of Josh Hodgson. He's having a terrific season, but I don't think there's a problem if Baptiste had major minutes in a game. Good player, but at the moment it's just a 20-25 minutes that he plays for them. It's been in their winning run. He's got a bit of toe out of dummy half. Back to the 40. And Frank Pornuasala unable to offload that time. So a steady set from the Raiders. And Austin kicks from halfway, goes for the bomb, which Turgan is sprinting for. Then ran into a retreating almost Sisawonga.
Great, never took his eyes off the football. As I said, Sisawonga coming through. They get the ball back in good field position here.
You know, we're critical sometimes. They let it bounce these days. Dugan's intention was, I'm getting to that. He was at 4 pelts. Like it from Josh Dugan, favourite for the New South Wales #1. Now the bell into centre field with Craig. Shillington went low on him. Shillington's stats are good. 16 tackles and 7 hit-ups. Marshall over the head. We'll say knock on. It's always a little contentious. I'm happy to go with knock on most occasions.
Once again, Paul McGregor be a little bit concerned. That's why I say it was a good set from Benji Marshall earlier, just to kick it into touch and get back to being a little bit boring, get back in the grind, go set for set and start to dominate some field position with the Raiders. That's how it worked for him in the first half. We saw him stay down a channel and shift out in the first 20 minutes, and then we saw him go behind the ruck in the second 20 minutes. So I'm sure Paul McGregor will just want him to get back to the game plan.
Canberra with the ball from the scrum. Nice contact on one. Hit the ground hard in the Frizzell tackle. Marshall, who has won 14 of 15 career games against Canberra. Just on the try-scoring department, in 11-game drought at the moment. Benji comes back with Shillington. There's an offload. Baptiste under pressure. There's some touch by the Dragons. I think the Dragons fans off were maybe touched, but still went forward off Canberra. Baptiste. A few little moves from him there. 30 away from the St George Illawarra line. At 26 to 18, 4 tries to 3. Soliola creeps inside the 20. Croker in field for 4. Locks horns with an offence and carries it quite a distance. So here's the big chance for Canberra. And then Illawarra. Cornish, looked obstruction. No, he didn't continue to the outside. He did well to pull that back in. But Parley had run through. And now Baptiste with Austin. There's the dummy and step. An offence alert. Crutching tackle, Thompson and Lestrange. And they slow down the play. The ball last, and Baptiste to pick up from Britannia. He sends the Parley on his way. Here we go. Flashing past the hole. The Parley loses his balance. He's up again. Oh, come on. That's a party pooper.
Well, at least they're consistent. That's the same as the double movement, so at least they're consistent.
The two Fiji and Cecil Wanga chasing the bull, and the hill was all up.
Seen some space today, the bully.
Well, his stride is so big that between the 30 and the halfway, it only takes 3 steps. Dragons with the ball. Chant goes up here at win. 24 minutes remain. Leeson Armour with the ball. 30 from the Canberra line. Not a great play the ball there. Just stepped over it. With it to Cooper. Cooper to Marshall. Look out. It's on to Aitken. Cooper's got him. And almost a second time. Now peppering the line again. High ball there for Marshall. This is Cooper. Strong stats from Cooper. 26 tackles. 7 hit-ups. Lestrange and DeBellin, and now Widdop. Wider still. Battaglia doesn't position the bully that time. Good defence, Wanga. Last it is for St George Illawarra. Widdop gets it through. He comes Marshall. There's the groundbreaker. Is that the goanna? Or is that a key one? Marshall has scored, and he's done something funky after he got it down.
It's been a real feature today, the kicking of Benji Marshall and Gareth Widdop, the short kicking in particular. And we saw Marshall kick the Widdop a try in the first half. And on this occasion, here's the Battaglia. He picks up the ball. Great hands, too, off the Baptiste kick. And Ed Bully, as you said, look at his stride length. Sherbo would be happy with that. Great cover defence. Sisawonga gets up and goes again. But look at this. Watch this for a kick. On this occasion, off the left foot. We saw him straighten and kick off the right foot for the Nabuli bat back for the Joel Thompson try. On this occasion, he goes off the right to kick the left-footed hook back. Gareth Widdop, take a bow. That's great skill.
I'm giving Jimmy Smith 20 seconds to come up with a New Zealand reptile. Watch it. Oh, what's he doing? What's that? I got to call that the drunken goanna. That's a goanna that's had a few shots. 22 to go. I just mentioned had gone a stint without a try, 11 games in fact, and now gets one here, and 84 the career. But what about the margin? It's about to be 14.
and take nothing away from the set. It was a beautiful set. On some occasions when they go shift to a shift, it's a bit windscreen wiper and a bit ineffective, but on this occasion, Ewan Aiken had a genuine crack off the edge of Dunge. Marshall passed down this right-hand side, and they went all the way back over the left and gave the Tautia a one-on-one crack at Sisawonga that almost come off, and that's how they got the quick play the ball. So, great set from the Dragons.
I'm watching Jimmy, he's Googling on his phone. New Zealand Lizards. and here is Widdop with a shot, but it's a big space. He should get it. There it is, 14 the difference, 21 and a half to go, Jimmy's sideline.
Well, it was all square, wasn't it? Benji put a kick in for Gareth Widdop in the first half, and now Gareth Widdop put one in for Benji Marshall in the second half. I don't know about Edo Nabuli, what was going on there. That should have been play on, so referee's been consistently wrong there. But that, right there, is not the drunken goanna. That's the sheep down the shearing chute, Bossy.
Do we have to pay that? Do we have to pay him at all?
No comment.
Here we go. Okay, so it's the sheep down the shearing chute. I'll get Ken Callender say that. Here's St George Illawarra with the ball on their 20. So what a game this is, but 14 is the margin now. Have they got a knockout punch in them right now, St George Illawarra? Canberra, those big comebacks. Now they're going to have to do it in the final quarter of a game. Will Matthews has his first football of the afternoon. Still no Jared Kennedy for Canberra. He's only just warming up now on the sideline. He's a player who's given Ricky 80 minutes in games this year at times. Here is Matthews. And another good set to follow up points from St George Illawarra. It's away for Marshall. A big kick this one. Rapana's underneath it. Good take, Jordan Rapana. That's a mighty kick.
Jeez, that's a hand drop, didn't it?
Jordan find the centre of the line. There's even a mark there, mate. Now he's found it. Thank you.
But as you said, Bossy, great set from the Dragons. A monster kick from Benji Marshall. It's just 5 metres too long. If that set out on the edge of the goal line, it would have been a great set. Absolutely perfect set from the Dragons.
The final quarter has started. Canberra chasing 4 straight victories. As now it comes on to Sisawonga and offloading. Whiten got involved. Maybe Whiten's the go-to man. A big attacking play for Jack to get Canberra moving here. What they've done has been good this afternoon, but not much has involved Whiten. They say forward there to Frank Pornuasala. Inside the 30 for Canberra. On to Cornish. Cornish dummies to Soliola. Austin back in field. Offloads to Hodgson. Keeps it going for Vaughan. Nice bit of footwork from Paul Vaughan. Almost offloads. Tautia had hold of a leg from the play the ball. It is the last. Hodgson's done the 360. Kicks out the corner. Longer with a miracle pass. No miracle there. Tautia has been a terrier on the clean-up today.
Good scramble by the Dragons, but the Canberra Raiders, Blake Austin is almost doing Jack Whiten's job to a certain extent. He's going through the middle. That's where the space is, through the middle of the ruck on them last plays with the Dragons. Austin almost went through himself. Jack White's got to push up with him.
So Dragons in possession on their 30. And now Lestrange on with Thompson. 140-20 in the match. That was from Marshall in the first half. Good run here. Lestrange on quite a scamper. Sets it up for the last. Widdop after Marshall. He's going to kick high again. Midfield bomb. Out for Lee. And that's been touched by Nightingale forward. Knock on there.
Thanks, mate. Right there, mate. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I think it'll be a real game changer when Mitch Rain comes back on. We've seen Lestrange already go through the ruck on 2 occasions. I think a fresh Mitch Rain against these tiring Canberra forwards is really going to take the Dragons attack to another level.
Yeah, big play from Rain back here when they clashed in round 3 as well. Down at GIO Stadium. Canberra with the ball inside their 40. This is Soliola. There's certainly aggression in all their runs. They've got. It's certainly a hard-working side. You've got to applaud that part of Canberra's play. Kennedy to play it. And Hodgson Away to Cornish. He's going to kick for placement, get them down to the corner. So they're sticking to the game plan. Nightingale had to look at it, and gets it just out from the goal line.
Well, they're definitely hard working, Boston. You said that, but they've also got a lot of finesse. I think the only thing that goes against them is their maturity, particularly in key positions. But this is a great Canberra team.
Dugan stays down here. Perhaps a suggestion of some sort of crush-up tackle there.
Please don't touch him when he does that, mate.
It's interesting. Referee said, see it. Please don't touch him. To Sia Soliola.
Bucky, you're right. Tackle 2. Yeah.
Watch the tackle again.
So Bucky, take it from this way.
He didn't seem to be held upright for any great period of time.
Josh, Josh.
Tackle 2.
And he's okay. Or good enough to get back to his feet. Dragons get a little bit of relieving time there. Oh, look at the Canberra defence. Driving back. And Dragons under pressure here. Tackle 4 and an offload around to Ahmed. Alfred Cooper. Wow, 10 metres out from your line. But it gets them out of trouble. And now for Thompson. They have scored 5 tries this afternoon. There's been 8 tries scored in the match. Last it is for the Dragons. Widdop from inside the 40, a lot on it. Whiten's got it. There's a big space to run here. Whiten, he's got it all on his own. And gets back over the 30.
Just watching the Canberra players come back from their line, fatigue has definitely crept into this game in a big way. Very slow to get back, the Canberra forwards. It was a great set, though, with their line speed before the offload. They've done a really good job, and if they are to get back into this game, it is going to be off the back of restricting the Dragons out of their end and getting the ball back in good field position.
Overall, 55% possession today to the Dragons. That tells a story. Good run there by Vaughan. Couple of good runs in the last 5 or 6 minutes. Now Hodgson, Cornish, well, that looked forward as well. And the crowd reacted. I thought that may have been the most blatant of them. Hodgson, right side. Austin kicks back and field. There's no one there. But there is a bloke called Dugan. And he hasn't got a Canberra jumper anymore. And called the play outside the 20. Nightingale spins away from Austin. And the Dragons, well, Jason Nightingale, he's run 25 metres.
Once again, to the end of that set, I don't want to be critical of Jack Whiten because he's in a new position and he's still very young, but it should be him on the end of their plays. You see the likes of Billy Slater and Fletcher, they contest the kick, whereas Jack Whiten was already back getting set for the defensive set.
St George Illawarra with the ball. Widdop across to Marshall. He's going to kick. He's going to look for Nightingale. He's turned Lee around, but Lee has gathered it in. A little interesting trick shot fired there by St George Illawarra. And Lee meets his match on the 20. So 15 minutes to go. Margin is 14. Completion rate for both sides big today. 24-29 to the Dragons. 22-26 to Canberra. It's contributed to the quality of the game. Hodgson solid from the Dragons. Merrin in that one. Merrin with 23 tackles and 11 hit-ups today. Now Sisawanga, 5 inside the Dragons half. A couple of tackles left in this set. They're going to run it left. Austin onto Soliola. Maybe they needed to cut him out there. They were screaming for it. White and Croker, Lee on the outside. Ball out the back could have been really threatening. Cornish steadies to Bob. He gets it out towards the wing of Rapana. There's Becknabouli.
Blake Austin dirty on his teammates there. He had numbers down the short side on the left end. They were slow to get back, and Benji Marshall was caught it first person in. They've got to take them opportunities, particularly when you're down.
George Illawarra possession, looking to bounce back from Monday night against South Sydney, and the Bellin met front on. And straight away on Monday night in the Matty John show, Gordon Tallis went on the front foot and thought the performance from the Dragons was great. And nothing to worry about, that their winning run had come to an end. Or perhaps they're producing their finest performance of the year here. Australians on to Marshall. It's off the back of Croker. Not played at. Quite clearly the call. Marshall's got it again. Look at him. And Marshall has kept it alive. Nightingale's going to show us a kick. And it's not a bad one from Jason Nightingale. It's a beauty.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jason Nightingale put this one in the highlights reel. He fancies himself as a kicker. He'd be absolutely ecstatic with that.
I didn't even know he was a left footer.
He's a left footer. Don't let him tell you otherwise too.
He's ended up kicking this from 45 metres out. And angle on it. 2 bounces, 1 bounce in fact.
Picture perfect. Such an underrated player, Jason Nightingale.
He was captain of the side when they won down in Canberra in round 3. Raiders in possession. Austin, they spread it. Lunga with it. Oh, he's lost it. And Rapana. Jordan Rapana off the deck has found Austin, and then Cecil Lunga. Well, this is interesting now. Rapana. They're trying to take it up another notch here, Canberra. They have to be the next to score. They know that. Anything more than 14 behind in the final 10 is probably a mountain too high to climb. Cornish out to Austin. This time they get out the back to Whiten. Croker with a juggle. Marshall across.
Good defence, Benji Marshall there. Just held his ground, made the right decision.
He's been hurt too, Marshall. He's defending on the wing. He's struggling a bit here, Benji. Canberra with the ball. 30 metres from the St George Illawarra line. Centrefield they come. Shannon Boyd is tackled now on the 20. This becomes, I guess, the biggest play of the match so far. Austin right up the line. Saliona's put it down. And they will say knock on, and it was the last. A changeover. Just didn't happen when they needed it most there.
Well, they didn't die with wondering in that set, did they? The Canberra Raiders prepared to offload, throw it out the back. What about this? Here it is. Rapana. What about the offload?
Standard.
Marcus, right, see ya. Okay.
And then at the other end.
Good decision once again by Benji Marshall. On the previous occasion, stayed out, waited for his inside men to come and help him out. On this occasion, knew he had to take Soliola and did well. Well,
your man Rain is back out there for the final 10.5 minutes. So Lestrange has had his little role today. He thinks he may just cut them open. And now on to DeBellin. I haven't looked at line break stats for dummy halves this year, but Rain probably leads it. St George Illawarra, maybe their 7th win of the season. There's a now Merrin, and he squeaks a pass out, if that's such an expression. And then Marshall with it on halfway. He finds a little bit of speed. On it comes for Aitken. He was looking to offload as well. Now the players go left. Rain, Nightingale straightens, looks up, and can't get through there. This is the last tackle. Leaders 14. Marshall is still down in back play. And Canberra, oh, it's come up for Rain. Changeover. The problem here is with Marshall. Jimmy Smith is a little closer to it than us. This doesn't look good for Benji. He is in trouble, and Jimmy's going up to check it out. I don't think he's going down there to give it a rub, the injury. Canberra trying to get off their own line here.
And now Widdop's gone down on the right-hand wing as well.
The two halves. Neither of them can run. Zero me, look at this, a dramatic turn. With 9 minutes to go, oh, forward, they've got one this time. As Canberra, they were away.
Cheers, it was the right idea from the Canberra Raiders. They knew Benji Marshall was down, Gareth Widdop were down. They were very short on that left-hand side. And Sisawonga is a good man to get the ball in that situation. Here we go, there's the Widdop taken out late.
Well, he's collapsed on the 40-metre line here. I'm not being dramatic that he's unconscious, but he has just hit the deck. Gareth Widdop. Marshall can't even break into a jog to get to the scrum. In the steward's report, he's got a big mention.
The trainer's given the thumbs up for Widdop, so that's a good sign. But look at that, Soliola in the rib cage there of Gareth Widdop.
Well, Jimmy has been up and about, checking all of that on the bench with his delay in the scrum. It is 20 metres out from the Raiders line. Well, Jimmy will go straight to you. What can you tell us?
Benji Marshall, it's a cork. That's the suggestion from the medical team. They haven't had a chance to have a really close look at him. He came to the sideline there, as we saw. Everyone was around him. They're trying to get some understanding of what it is. The cork it is. He's trying to work it out. Let's see how he goes in this last 8 minutes. Here's Benji now.
Yeah, Dragons scrum through the course, and Aitken now after the forward pass from Canberra. These are the championship minutes right now. 8 to go. It's been a terrific game. Marshall turns it for Dugan. Rains put it down. And then Dugan decides to audition for the A-League Grand Final. And he's put it into the corporate boxes.
Well, it was a developing play. Mitch Rain just caught him unaware. Dugan caught Mitch Rain unaware. It was the right idea. Great play to play back in the inside. They had the numbers. You actually should have let that go, Mitch Rain, for Will Matthews. And there was a lot of space unfolding down that left-hand corridor.
And Adelaide Cola for Dugan for Melbourne Victory or Sydney FC. Into the final 7.5 we go. Canberra at the wrong end of the field. 32 to 18. They trailed 20 to 12 at half time. So 12-6 second half here to St George Illawarra. And Cecil wanted to play it, but they're inside their 30. Rapana hemmed in there as well by the St George Illawarra defence. Marshall remains out there. So too does Widdop. Getting ready to send Frizzell back into the play. Austin still hasn't reaped him any reward here. Quick play the ball for Hodgson. He almost wasn't there. And now he sends Croker away down the left. And he's flicked it there for Edric Lee. Lee in the shadows on this western side. Fifth tackle, Canberra. Croker. Cornish. Left foot bomb. Across field. Here comes Wagga. Here comes the Burley. It's anyone's. Oh, the Burley's got it back. The Flying Fijians.
Well defended, the Dragons. You see Benji Marshall leave the field. Tyson Frizzell come on, so there'll be a bit of reshuffle in the Dragons side, but it's the right decision as you see him on screen there, limping off with what we think is a cork.
And look at Frizzell's first touch after coming back on. 24 tackles, 10 hit-ups for Frizzell, a couple of offloads as well. Almost 6 to go now. That is all that remains. And most importantly, the margin's 14, not 12. Canberra need to come up with 3 scoring plays. Nightingale, and they've got to beat the best defence in the league to do it. Their effort has been gallant. The Dragons has been better. Widdop has kicked to a retreating Cornish. He copped it in the back, gave him quite a shock. Now Dugan will get a second kick in. That's a good one. Rapana will cut it off. 10 metres away from his own line. And back he comes. That showed to Carmichael Hunt back in the day for the Broncos. Launched himself at the defence. There's the cork for Benji Marshall. Sunday Rugby League on Fox Sports. It's been a beauty. Paul Vaughan to halfway. Canberra playing next weekend against the Bulldogs. That's a big home game. Hope they get a good crowd. Joe, up came Matautia there. Did it make the toe? Oh, no, Rapana was away. He was going to go deep inside the 20. And suddenly their hands let them down.
Geez, it was a great ball. Papali just gets through the line, straight in the breadbasket of Rapana. They've created a lot of half opportunities down that right-hand edge. They've only executed on a couple of occasions, but geez, they've had them worried, the Dragons.
Let's go, guys. Mitch, bring them in.
Yeah, still overall, I mean, it's a curious stat out of the game. The line break stats for today: Canberra 4, Dragons 3.
Okay.
But Canberra down by 14, and again, overall possession rate: Dragons 53%.
And I think it's because of the exact situations like that. A lot of half opportunities have gone to the Raiders. And that's like I meant earlier. I meant the Dragons' defence. The Raiders' attack have really had them in strife down that left-hand edge.
What do you make of Jack DeBell and scrum feed? You had any thought to that?
Don't know about his scrum feeds, but geez, he's been good this year coming off the bench. I think he's been a big point of difference in the impact he provides.
Coming back one.
There's a chance he's playing halfback at the moment, mind you. Jack DeBellin with Marshall off the field. So I'm not about to say they've picked out an odd player to feed the scrum. Rain, here he is. DeBellin, he thinks he's a halfback. He was looking to put Matthews through. Now it's play on. Leeson arm out. Side of the hole. Doesn't shut up shot. Canberra. No, they don't get it back. The Dragons get it and will go back for a knock on. So this is it. It's last roll of the dice. I mean, it is. They need a couple of miracles here, Canberra. They have to score in this next set to start it.
Just stand up. You can stand up there.
But remembering when tries to score, we do have time off in the last 5, so you get a little bit more football into the last 5 than you used to.
I don't think he meant to offload that either, Armour. I think it was more knocked down.
Had to laugh there. Jack DeBellin had no idea where to stand as the non-feeding halfback. Ben comes in, you've got to get back there, Jack. Imagine that not retiring at a scrum as now goes to Croker.
It's a bit like Luke Douglas with the extra time call.
5 inside their own half. Lee, if you've got a magic play, bring it out right now. Just inside the Dragons' half. Hodgson, Lee, well, in defeat for Canberra, the likely defeat. They've learned don't write them off. There's some real form about them, but the Dragons, these are good times. Now Vaughan, cut offload there. 3 minutes to go. Hodgson on for Cornish, little prop, goes short again. Papali is backing, he's in reverse, and Dugan finishes it off. Thompson with a ball there. Last play, Canberra. Hodgson, Austin, kicks across field. Croker's right there. Oh, what a touch! The flying Nightingale. Beautiful. I love it from Nightingale. Lucky win.
It's confusing there.
Wow, what a take.
It's confusing. I thought it was a tackle there.
He can kick. He can
It
jump.
should be 0. Wait till you get
Does
to
it
the
all.
there. 0, Danny. No, 0 here.
And it is now safe to say the Dragons are home.
Jared, give him room, Jared.
Two-handed take.
Wait there,
Hang
Josh.
time.
Go, 0.
Brilliant stuff.
That's okay. It's all right.
The Bellin on Frizzell. He's doing a fine fist to this halfback stuff here.
Stay straight there.
So Dragons match the likes of the Melbourne Storm with a victory in the Women in League round 10.
See you now. Quicker, Jared. 90 for 2. Right here, Josh.
Brisbane couldn't do it Friday night. They remain on 14. Melbourne up to 14. Dragons up to 14. Cowboys up to 14. What a race at the top. And maybe not finished yet, St George Illawarra. 30 metres away from the line. With it to centre field for Merrin. This would lead to some celebration if they nab try number 6 in the closing minutes. Back in field for Matthews. Matthews had it knocked out of his hands. No restart of the tackle count. Frizzell with the ball. Frizzell with that footwork. He's so strong. He left Soliola on the deck there. That's not easily done. Off goes Dugan. The defensive line is broken. And that is the last play.
Jesus, creating some havoc down that right-hand edge. Tyson Frizzell has done all day. Had a stint on the sidelines, obviously come back on because of the Benji Marshall injury. It's quite frustrating as a team too when you lose your halfback. You know you've pretty much won the game and there's only 3.5, 4 minutes to go because everyone wants to become a halfback. Get in there, distribute the ball, create something. That can be frustrating, particularly as a forward when all you want to do is just get the ball and run.
The Dragons conceding just 3 tries today, so the try against them tally is only up to 21. And the kick over the top, so the last play really for Canberra. Dragons just too good. Winnett comes up with a ball. And they will have possession for the final seconds in the match. In a real good battle. Nabuli on for Thompson. The former Raider takes the last run of the game on halfway. That'll do us. That will do the fans here, certainly in Wollongong. And St George Illawarra have win number 7 for 2015, beating a side that had 3 straight wins going into today. The Dragons 32, the Raiders 18. 5 tries to 3. The end tally. But terrific entertainment this afternoon. But this is the St George Illawarra side. It is no fluke that they find themselves with the top 4 teams in the competition.